Welcome, heathens and witches, to the Horn
and Cauldron
podcast. But this one's the pub chat version.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I'm John Norgrove. This is Julie Norgrove. Thank you for joining us for the Horn and Cauldron's pub chat. Our pub chats traditionally had a bit more order and organization, but coming into the new year, we've decided to change it up a little bit. We want to make these a little bit more free form. Sometimes it's just going to be a story and a discussion. Sometimes it's just going to be us talking about a concept or exploring something based on a question from you guys or something that we saw online or something that's been picking at our brains for a little bit. These are a little bit more freeform and, just kind of like a hangout time. We are kind of hoping to try and shoot for making these live at some point in time in the future, but we're not that organized right now.
Yeah, we'd love to be able to stream these and
so that way you guys can actually
people.
Join us for.
Yeah.
But either way, grab a pint of whatever you're drinking. You've got tea and milk, like a person.
I have golden milk tea and whipped cream on top.
Ugh.
Thank you very much.
Tea and milk. And I'm drinking.
Hey, I finished drinking a whole bunch of stuff today.
Fireball, and apple juice.
Yeah. It's spiced apple cider.
It's mulled apple cider with our own mulling spices. It's just Fireball and apple juice. Let's not pretend.
Yeah, I mean, I cannot believe that they didn't have the good.
Oh my god, yeah.
Apple cider.
Our local grocer was full out of cider apple juice. And so we only had
unfiltered stuff. So we have literally Mott's brand apple juice.
Yeah, like name brand apple juice.
This isn't a deal. This is just
it was just what was available. So it's different than what we normally drink, but it's okay.
It's okay. Yeah, it's not the same.
Yeah, I'm also out of beer. I drank all of those yesterday.
It still has all the same magical connotations.
Yeah, it's good enough.
It's just not as magical feeling because it's clear.
It's refined magic. Ugh.
It's refined. Filtered
all those people drinking pure filtered magic as opposed to that raw magic or some nonsense thing like that. whatever Anywho, getting back on topic, so today I wanted to explore something that's been sort of noodling at my brain this whole Christmas season. We weren't on the only Christmas, Yule, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa holiday movies kick as we were with Halloween, because for Halloween, Samhain, we only watch only horror only.
And wrestling.
Well, horror and Star Trek and wrestling, because those are the week to weeks that we watch. Is Star Trek and wrestling. But for Christmas time, I'm just going to keep referring to it as Christmas time because it's easier, the holiday season. For Christmas time, we were kind of back and forth, and there was this weird thing. I don't know about if it affected y'all this way, but I feel like most of the streaming services had a shit holiday selection until the 15th or 20th of the month.
No, even further than that. It was
because there was some good, it was some good stuff coming on the 22nd.
And we were finally some Christmas content.
Some Christmas content. Yeah. There was not as much as we were used to, which was a little off-putting. So we watched some awful ones.
And this kind of felt like a pretty unfestive.
This was a very less than festive holiday for us. We were very late in getting our decorations up, which if you are on our Patreon, you now have access to our Yule decorating and tiny ritual video that went up. Christmas Day, I uploaded that for everybody. Yeah. So Merry Christmas for that. I was up until very late editing that together.
Yeah.
Because it's been a while since I've done something like that. But and we're
gonna do more of those.
Yeah, we're gonna do more of those fun patron ones. So check that out if you haven't had a chance to yet. But so one of the things that kept coming up in the movies we were watching is essentially faith, belief in Santa, faith in Santa, as well as his powers being questioned. You often see, it's a standard trope in a shitload of Christmas movies where there's not a lot of Christmas belief in the world right now, so Santa Claus, no powers. Regular guy in a suit with a bunch of weird looking horses, right? Yeah. Until somebody starts singing a Christmas song, and then we all believe. I mean, we've seen a million movies. Elf, that's the plot.
Yeah.
All of the Santa Claus movies, plot.
Yeah.
Right? Violent Night, plot point.
Yeah.
Like, that's a plot point in, like,
You know what
every
else
Christmas
it shares
movie.
the plot point with? American Gods.
Yeah. So what's interesting about this, like, belief, this structure in the way that we talk about Santa, is that he gains his power. Christmas magic TM is derived from belief. Which, if that were the case, and if Santa Claus is essentially just like a regular guy with some weird horses until enough people believe, and then he is like an uncontrolled god, which we'll get into, when people do believe, it would mean that, at least to some extent, Santa Claus is an egregore. An egregore is essentially a thing, a being, a god, or an angel, or whatever, given form, or given animus, or given power through the belief of a cult, or a group of people. And when you think about it that way, you could say that Christmas is a bit of a cult, right?
Yeah.
And there's like, and I'm not talking about like Jesus, manger, frankincense, and myrrh, you know.
We're talking about like
Christmas.
Commercialized
I'm talking
Christmas.
Coca-Cola Christmas. I'm talking boxes under a tree, right? And when you start to think of Christmas purely as a function of ritual to give one god, Santa Claus, power, you create an altar for him. You make offerings in the form of milk and cookies that you leave out.
That's your Christmas
tree.
The
altar is your Christmas tree. And it's not a thing. It's not like you have a normal space and you just have a Santa altar. This is like a once a year special Santa altar.
Yeah.
A lot of times in a lot of other movies, or in some movies and in stories, you hear that like, well, after Christmas, Santa Claus goes on vacation. Well, when you think about it, if Santa Claus is empowered by belief, yeah, throughout the year, you all like low key put out a little bit of Christmas faith, a little bit of Christmas magical belief in the form of like, I make a great Christmas present and I've got the money now. Maybe I buy this Christmas present for my significant other or kid or whatever, put it in a closet for a little bit.
But like,
that's like
as
low
you get
drizzle
closer
power.
to Christmas, it increases, right? So it's like the Mariah Carey season is here, that kind of thing. Look at all of that stuff, like feeds the Christmas spirit, and
you start seeing commercials for
Santa
the newer
Claus
Christmas movies. You
start powerful,
right? Which, and when you think about it, the peak of Santa's power base with regard to belief would exist on Christmas Eve. The one night he needs enough power to be able to alter space-time so greatly as to be able to serve like whatever, like 1 billion or 2 billion or whatever households, where he's having to like slow down time or bend space-time or whatever to allow him to like deliver gifts for all of these things.
Yeah.
Right? And like the sort of like raw, untapped chaos potential of like a child's faith.
Yeah.
Right? Which would be like less colored, right? Less controlled by like, well, to me, Christmas is this kind of cookie or this kind of movie. Like everybody's got their favorite Christmas movie, right? Where like when you think about it, as a kid, you were like, all Christmas movies are great because they're Christmas movies.
Yeah.
But like as you become like a jaded old adult, you're like, this movie sucks. I'm looking at a bunch of movies that I can think of that I am like not a fan of as Christmas movies, but I know as a kid I would have been like, whatever, it's on and Christmassy.
Yeah.
Right? I love Christmas time. I'm a huge Christmas person. I think it's super fun. Who doesn't want trees in their house all the time? And this is just a good justification for that. Who doesn't want twinkly lights in their house all the time? I mean, like, frankly, this like White House,
ornaments
white cabinets
and decorations
is real boring, and I hate that look in a house.
We're very maximalist.
Yeah, I'm very pro maximalism with regard to like your house and its ornateness. So like Christmas is like the infinite, like it's like the top of the mountain of maximalism to me.
Yeah.
So like when you think about it that way, it's like, all right, so if Santa Claus, the egregore, is like powered by faith, he needs most of his power by Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Right? Which is about the time when he's doing it.
Yeah.
Right? And the rest of the time, it's just enough low-grade power to sustain him not aging in time and potentially whatever protective barrier he needs for the North Pole. Another thing that they talk about, that when faith drops below too much, or when like certain ritual items are removed from certain ritual places.
Yeah.
We're looking at like in the Christmas Chronicles 2 when they move the Star of Bethlehem. Is that what they call that star?
Anytime Santa loses a reindeer or his
anytime Santa loses a reindeer,
his bag.
Yeah, if the snow globes of past Santas get disturbed in the third Santa Claus movie, like there's a bunch of these where it's like if some magical MacGuffin gets messed with, then the protective barrier goes down. So it sounds like even though Santa Claus gains all of his power, like if you think about it this way, if Santa Claus is gaining all of his power through belief, right, as like an egregore god, then functionally, right, he would, during the lowest times of the year's belief, would need other like magical things to protect his kingdom. Which is what he's doing. Or to store the energy. Or to store the magic, or like, whichever MacGuffin you're working with. Yeah. I mean, it just depends on which movie and which like magical MacGuffin. But like when you think about it that way, okay, so Santa Claus is doing that. He's also, let's go with interfering with a bunch of romance. We've all seen Hallmark Channel rom-coms. That guy is any number of old people doing any number of winks and nods at the camera, sort of a thing. So when you think about it that way, he's just like, that's just like bonus magic, right? If you make a couple fall in love at Christmas time, and they're like a Christmas couple, then like superpower, right? Super juice every time, kind of a thing. And then speaking of the like Santa Claus is a god thing, like I forget who on TikTok I saw them do a thing about it, and they're like, oh yeah, Santa Claus is like a terrifying nightmare god when you think about it. And that's true, obviously, right? He's omniscient. He sees you when you're sleeping and knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good, which means not only does he know the situation, but he understands enough of it to like know what you're thinking low grade. Yeah. Right? Like if you're lying or like doing a shenan. Yeah. So like he's also able to monitor the entire world, empower deer with flight, reindeer with flight. And sometimes
light up noses.
And sometimes,
he's able
uranium.
To have his own race of basically slaves.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, in some movies, they really definitely approach that, like, Santa Claus created the elves or otherwisely ensnared them in some sort of a MacGuffin. Yeah. But I feel like in a lot of them, the elves already exist. So if Santa were an egregore powered by a faith that's based on a holiday where people get stuff, he can use a lot of that magic to make the stuff that he has to get, magical bag of holding and shit like that. But he could also just find a magical people, like let's say some fae folk from a particular part of the planet, and convince them, well, hey, why don't you use your magical fae powers to create stuff for me, and I will use my magical Santa powers to essentially like grant you a protective place. Because when you think about it, Santa's village, like the place where Santa Claus lives in the North Pole, is like essentially the Fae realm. Yeah. It's invisible and untouchable by us and mankind unless we have access to a magical MacGuffin to like bring the barrier down. Yeah. Right? It protects and insulates them from like all natural outside stuff. Yeah. Whilst also giving them enough material and like
oftentimes
shit inside
it also has
to give
other
them life.
Magical beings that live inside of it.
Yeah, it like, houses other magical beings.
Yeah. The thing about it that's really interesting about Santa as like an egregore like this is like not could you do this, but why not then use Santa as a deity throughout the year when you want gifts? Pray pray to Santa
and goodness
year-round
and kindness
for
and joy,
the joy and the spirit,
celebration and decoration. Yeah, I mean that's exactly what it is. As well as
it really makes a good argument for Christmas in July. Let me tell you.
Yeah, it does. Well, but and if you think about it, if Santa Claus is an egregore who has essentially like to ease the magical load and distribute it amongst some like more than just him and one holiday, right? He's made contract or friends with like some local fae from wherever he originated from, depending on which Santa Claus origin you're going for with this one, which also lends like credence to the whole like god thing, because a lot of gods have like multiple origin stories. But also in a lot of stories, Santa Claus knows other egregores like the Easter Bunny, or Jack Frost, as well as other actual gods like Mother Nature or fucking time. Like there's one movie where he knows time.
Jack Skellington. Because if you think about it in this way, like in the way that we're talking about it, like Nightmare Before Christmas is basically the land of the egregore deities.
Well, it's the like infinite cosmic plane where all of the like alt worlds exist.
Yeah.
Where within like each holiday's egregore has built an alt world, and they're just like moving between moving through the shadows, like moving through the place between places, which is that forest, right?
Yeah.
Which, like, if you think about it that way, who else do we know who lives in a particular tree and describes a lot of shit as a forest? The Norse gods. So, like, when you think about it that way, it's that, like, where Jack Skellington is able to access the other holiday seasons is, like, the place between places, the, like, forest of infinite, like,
so in a way,
worlds.
The Nightmare Before Christmas as a movie is the story of one egregore god trying to supplant himself into a different egregore god's place.
Yeah. So is Santa Claus 3. So is, the whatever Guardians of Forever or whatever that Santa one is, where he's like a buff Russian Santa. I love that fucking movie too. So is a bunch of these movies. Hell, so is Christmas Chronicles 2.
Yeah.
Right? It's essentially like theoretically the story of the god Santa, the like holiday god Santa Claus as an egregore is one of like other egregores trying to supplant each other for power, which again all sounds Greek to me, right?
Yeah, it does.
So this was like this like kind of brief little thing. This was our opinions. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah.
About Santa Claus as an egregore god, man.
We don't have any sources for this. This is just us kind of
this is just our opinions. Yeah. Listen, we're not Santa experts. Whatever that is.
Yeah.
This is just like my opinion on like this whole idea that Santa Claus is an omniscient god with like ultimate power derived through his creation as an egregore.
Yeah.
And frankly, I'm here for that belief structure. It sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And I've always been very fond of the idea that gods are empowered by the people that believe in them. A la American Gods is a solid example of like that particular logic line. So I always thoroughly enjoy that sort of a thing. But like, what do you think about that as the listener? Like, what do you think about Santa Claus being like less of like a, because hell, in some stories, Santa Claus is talked about as like essentially a fairy. Yeah. He's like a fake king.
Yeah.
In some stories. But like, what do you think about Santa Claus as like a fake king or just like a dude who transcended into goddom? A thing I could go on about for a very long time. Or as an egregore or any of that sort of stuff. And what do you think about looking at like American Christmas capitalism TM as like a weird ritual to empower this egregore like fake king god to like give kids gifts?
Yeah.
It's an interesting way to think about Christmas, and it definitely makes you look at Christmas decorations a little differently, and I kind of enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I'm here for that belief.
Yeah. Also, will you leave up some Santa effigies?
Yeah, would you leave up a Santa effigy all year?
We already have one in mind that I think that we might just leave up all year.
Yeah. Yeah. So we might just leave like one up all year, give Santa a little extra juice.
Yeah.
But yeah, what do you think about that? That's something that we've been talking about, like, after every Christmas movie. Like, every day we've just been like, well, what about this? Or what about blah, blah, blah? We've been talking about. So we obviously really wanted to share that with you guys. And what do you think of this new structure where we kind of just, like...
Chat about whatever's on our
minds and have a drink with us. So tell us what you think about all that kind of stuff. Let us know, comment below. While you're at it, share this video, subscribe to this channel, give us a like, ring a bell, do all of that stuff.
And be ready to check out our new show, Magic and Media.
Yeah, and stay tuned for Magic and Media. We've got one of those coming out
we talk about a Christmas
soon
movie,
also.
guys.
So yeah, we're wrapping up the season with a little bit more Yuletide.
Yeah.
So look forward to that. But either way, I've been John Norgrove. This has been Julie Norgrove. This has been The Horn
and Cauldron
Podcast Pub Chat, and we will catch you guys next time. Stay magical, folks.
Yeah, and don't forget, breathe in self-confidence and breathe out self-doubt.